This is Dr. Drew. If you're unfamiliar, he is a TV doctor. I'm not even sure if he has a medical license anymore. I don't know. He ran Celebrity Hospital, and he ran some substance abuse show. I don't remember what. Anyway, Dr. Drew pretends to be a doctor, but just spent like the first 30 minutes of this episode talking about alternative medicine and homeopathy and stuff. This isn't part one. If you didn't see the others, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. He's getting into a new subject. This is about Dave Rubin, I understand. So let's give this a listen, see what they have to say for themselves. It's bound to be ridiculous. And, and he propagandized about COVID and how, I don't know what, he was implying that the deep state started COVID intentionally to hurt people. That's what was being implied with his previous guest. Anyway, while we listen to this, we're going to play some Mario Odyssey. Should just be in the background. Won't bother you too much if you never played it before. Let's give this another buttery a listen, shall we?
And we are back. And I think, Caleb, you're supposed to throw... There we are. We're on the road. And as you see, I always bring Paleo Valley bone broth and beef steak.
Oh, my God. He's got another advertisement, dude. Okay, like I said, the first 30 minutes were ads. What are we listening to right now? This is just this entire thing is just advertisements. What is happening? 30 minutes. I said this in the previous one. I was paid $2,000 for a 60-second ad integration a few years ago by a VPN. $2,000 for a little channel. Okay? I'm talking on my main channel, though. It wasn't like this channel, which is much smaller. It was my channel that had somewhere around 300,000 subbies on it or something at the time. So I was paid $2,000 for a 60-second integration on a channel with 300,000 viewers. What is this guy being paid for a 30-minute set of ads? He's likely being paid $50,000, if I had to guess, for every 2 minutes. Each person that he has on, he gives them about 2 minutes. Some of them he gives like a full 30 minutes. He gives like a full 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something, some of them. So he's giving some people like a massive amount of time, and they're probably paying $150,000 for that or something. He is just rolling in money. This is sad. Seriously. This is really sad.
The venison sticks are insane. They're my favorite. Everywhere I go, we always have.
I could jump past the ads, but I want to hear them.
Have them. We had them in our coffee this morning. Not them. We had the bone broth there. The chocolate one in particular.
Bone broth, apparently. Okay, yeah. He's talking about some homeopathic cure that fixes everything. Great.
So you can go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% off your first order, 20% when you subscribe. It is drdrew.com/Paleo Valley. Oh,
now I'm wondering, drdrew.com/Paleo Valley, is it his website? Because one of his other advertisement was /holistic goddess, I think. And it was for the bison trifecta, just complete nonsense, all of it. How many views does this video have? This has 265 likes. When did this come out? May 7th? Yeah, this came out May 7th. So 5 p.m. May 7th. Wow. I didn't realize it was so recent. Oh, it has 67,000 views and it was streamed live. 67,000 views with 500 upvotes. That does not sound right. I consistently get, more than that by far. Let's see. How many views? We just look at one of my videos. It has like 67,000 views on it, roughly. Okay, here's one with 82,000 views. One of my videos has 82,000. And it has 2,000 comments alone. Comments. And 3,500 likes. Let's see. Let me find one that's a little bit closer. Okay, here's a video that has 69,000 views on it. It's a Caleb and Sophia video. And it has 3,500 likes. 3,455 likes and 55 dislikes. Why does he have 68,000 plays and 535 likes? That's suspicious. And 11 comments? No, I'm sorry, 119 comments. 119 comments? My video has, how many comments was it 2,000 comments, I think? On my 69,000 view video? This is suspicious. Like, really suspicious. So I guess we can't trust ads. The point is, I don't know how much he's being paid in ad revenue, if any, but he's making fat stacks off of The sponsorships alone, I'm sure. Fat stacks.
Ford, author of Don't Burn This Book, Thinking for Yourself in an Age of Unreason. So that title is like ringing in my ears.
It's great.
Dave Rubin founded this, Locals. This is Local Studios. Did you ever imagine
He was on Locals.
Locals would be what it became?
I guess I imagined it, but I didn't think it was going to happen because for the first 2 years of fundraising, basically, I went to everybody. I mean, every big VC firm, everybody in Silicon Valley while they were still there.
Yeah.
Many of them have now
Oh, my God.
moved here to Miami
Interesting.
post-COVID. And basically everybody said this, wow, this is a great idea. Creators should own their own stuff and there shouldn't be a middleman with big tech. And nobody pushed back on the idea.
I don't remember what Locals is. I think Locals is this thing where you can set it up on your own website. It's like a video sharing platform or whatever on your own website. I think that's a great idea. I like that a lot, actually. And I think it was bought out by Rumble. Because Rumble bought Locals, Dave Rubin has a boardroom in the Rumble studios named after him. Locals is a subscription-based community platform for independent creators, apparently. So is it like Patreon, except you host it? Is that what it is? I'm not sure.
Quick interjection, this won't take long, I promise. I'd appreciate it if you watched to the end of the video, or at least a couple extra seconds, because YouTube bases its algorithm off of watch time. The more watch time a video has, the further the video will go. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion, and the history of the religion generally. The 100 questions are intended to challenge a religious leader, so I'd appreciate it if you give it a read. Okay, back to the video.
They didn't like the idea that we were in the free speech space.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they would all get
Perfect.
very quiet.
They in Silicon Valley, they didn't like that they were in the free speech space. Right, totally. They'd get they get real quiet. These venture capitalists, if you don't know the process, if you have an idea, you go to people whose whole job is to, like, they have a lot of money. They own millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars in wealth. And all they do all day, every day is they listen to ideas from people and they invest in these ideas. I knew lots of venture capitalists when I've worked in software because, that's where a lot of venture capitalists go. Like, there's a lot of venture capitalism in software engineering and stuff.
Quiet once we walked out of the room. So we'd have great meetings. Every meeting that we had, I'd walk out going, wow, I'm sure we're getting cash out of that one. And then the phone would go cold. And then over time, eventually, the one that really broke it for us, and I like giving him public credit, was David Sachs, who you guys are probably familiar with, who was the COO of PayPal, part of that original PayPal mafia with Elon and with Peter Thiel. And he saw it in us. I met him at a party one night, didn't even realize who he was. I just was having a chat with a nice person. And then I walked away and someone said, oh, you know.
I've done that shit before. Seriously, talking to some very influential people. Like, holy shit. Are you kidding me? I was just talking to blah or whatever. I had no idea. And yeah, that's happened to me. Especially being in the YouTube space. Holy shit. You're telling me I was talking to the president of blah or, of whatever? Secular Student Alliance or of American Atheists or whatever. They're just, hanging out there talking to me like normal people, and I had no idea. I made a point of figuring out who everybody was after that. I didn't want to be caught off guard. I mean, not that it matters,
Sachs. And I said, who is he? I don't even know who he was. Anyway, I got on a call with him maybe 3 days later, and he immediately said, I'm in. He looked at the numbers in 2 minutes, as opposed to these 5-hour meetings that you have with people where they open.
Where they vet everything and they're very careful about their financial decisions. Yeah, the gall, huh? What a bunch of fucking to be really, really careful about their financial decisions. It's not like they're famous or extremely rich from the financial decisions that they've made or anything.
In the hood and look at everything, and then they do nothing for you.
Yeah.
Had a 3-minute call with him. He was in, and then that opened the floodgates for other people to say, oh, I can get in this too. And,
I've had meetings with venture capitalists before. They're not like 5-hour things. You send them a breakdown of your plans and your, business documents and your everything else, and show them that you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing, and you're interested in finding a way to make this work, and you're not a lightweight. You're not an idiot. You're not going to fumble this. Give them confidence. And then you go in for like an hour-long meeting, maybe 2-hour-long meeting, and explain everything. Just have a chat with them. That's what you do. That's what a venture capitalist meeting is like, a VC meeting.
But there's a little force field now.
And now we're in the studio.
Yeah, and now we're in the studio, and we merged with Rumble, and I think we're on the forefront of saving free speech online.
Well, so to me, a lot
He's on the forefront of saving free speech.
of what that story is the insanity of our present moment, the arc of the present moment, which
It's the what?
is in your book.
Yeah.
And when
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I hear that people push back to you because you're in the free speech space, I hear that you were radioactive because
When I hear that people pushed back because he's in the free speech space, I hear persecution complex. Get over yourself, Dave.
people wanted to cancel you because you dared to.
Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I just want to say I'd appreciate it if you check my Patreon. OwenMorgan.com/Patreon to find it. YouTube's algorithm goes up and down, so I can never predict where it's going to be. Having patrons gives me some level of stability. Okay, back to the video.
I dared to do what? To just
My God, bro, you didn't do anything, okay? No one's trying to cancel you. Get over yourself. You're not that important.
talk, dude.
Well, I've survived a couple cancellations over the years, as you guys have as well. I mean, it's gone in phases. First, it was really because I was a lefty. I considered myself, and still in a truest sense, I consider myself a classical liberal.
Sure, totally. Just gonna deny that he's a Republican, right? My God. Why don't you just be honest, okay? I feel like there's an honesty problem in the Republican Party. Just tell us you're a Republican. Tucker Carlson did this a while back in his interview with Joe Rogan or whatever, his conversation with him. He pretended that he was not a Republican. And then he's like, all right, I'll own it. I'm a Republican. I'm on the right. It's like, why are you pretending that you're not in the first place?
The lefty, sort of on the progressive side of things, talking about what I saw were the obvious problems with progressivism that I think we're now seeing on college campuses and virtually throughout all of our institutions. And I was kind of just lightly pushing back on that. And I was getting a lot of hate for that.
Just lightly pushing back on it. Is he going to mention his other cancellation, which is for being gay, for adopting kids as a gay guy? He was canceled by the right. Is he going to, talk about that? I have clips of that, of his cancellation, of some really big influential people calling him words that I can't say, certainly not on air. I can't play them because there's a lot of N-word and a lot of F-word for gay people, and calling him a human trafficker and so on and so forth, the usual. But I do have those clips, for what it's worth. That was his most recent cancellation, I'd say.
The New York Times said I was the head of the alt-right, or one of the heads of the alt-right, which we now have.
No, he was. He was the head of the alt-right, because the alt-right was defined differently at the time. I remember this. The alt-right was defined as somebody who is disaffected with the left, and it was genuine. This is an actual phenomenon that was actually really happening at the time. Someone who didn't like what was happening on the left for one reason or another, because Hillary Clinton was like the candidate, and they didn't like her. They felt like she didn't represent them at all. They liked Bernie Sanders better or whatever. So there's like a movement to be on the right, but it's like the alternative left more than anything. And then Richard Spencer came out, and he, like a real full-blown Nazi, and he was like, hold on, guys, I'm the leader of the alt-right, and I have been this whole time. And he's right, he was. The alt-right is actually a Nazi movement. So anyway, he was the alt-right. Dave Rubin was. He was on the alt-right. That's 100% true, whether he wants to admit that or not. To be fair, I'd had a different definition.
It was a front page Sunday New York Times, which we now have in my studio. It's framed nicely. I'm very proud of that.
Do you think some of that was Trump
I don't even know if that's true.
derangement syndrome? It feels like some people went
I
hysterically
wasn't even a Trump supporter.
No, I
at the
know.
time.
That's
Well,
what, but it just became this weird witch hunt.
Well, I
massive
think
witch hunt.
there's been a series of things that have really broken people's brains over the years.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you broke conservatives' brains when you were gay, and then when you were gay and conservative, and then when you were gay and conservative and had adopted kids. Those three things mixed together definitely broke conservatives' brains, and they were very unhappy about it. Seriously.
Obviously, Trump derangement syndrome was one of them. I think a media that has just failed us miserably, a mainstream media.
Yeah.
I think COVID, for a million reasons that you guys are very well familiar with, just broke people in half.
That's what showed us so much. But you got to interview Cuomo. You need to interview Cuomo.
So we played the clip on my show today where he said that he's now vaccine injured. And then
Cuomo who? I'm not familiar. Certainly not. Like, is there one of the... There's a guy named... is it Andrew Cuomo? Is that who it is? He was the governor of New York State, and he was he's part of a dynasty, basically. The Cuomos are very influential in politics and also in news and stuff. His brother, Chris Cuomo, is, is he on CNN? I don't remember. Anyway, very, very famous. So who does he mean when he says Cuomo, I wonder?
Then we also played a clip where a compilation of him on CNN basically guilting people into getting the vax. And I would love to have that.
Wait, is this Chris Cuomo that he's talking about? Chris Cuomo vaccine injured? This is completely made up. This term vaccine injured is a real thing, but it's not a problem with COVID. There is no vaccine injured with the mRNA COVID vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine and the AstraZeneca vaccines were different. They were traditional vaccines, not mRNA. And there were problems with that, like blood clots, and they stopped it the moment that they caught on to any kind of problems whatsoever. They stopped selling or, giving out the vaccine in, say, Britain, for example. They halted AstraZeneca in Britain. It was less effective anyway. It was just trying to fill a gap in the, the market, the vaccine market. Anyway, technically, vaccine injured does exist as a term, but this whole COVID vaccine injured thing is just complete garbage. Here is a here's I believe, this is Chris Cuomo's Instagram. All right, and we've got like a short here, so you give this a watch. I'm not sure what it says. Shit, hang on. How do I...
Still suffering side effects, they believe, from the vaccine, and that those have been ignored. Now, one of them is nurse practitioner Sean. I want Sean to help me say his name. I think it's Barkovich, but he'll be on in a second. He says,
dude, is Chris Cuomo anti-vax now?
He got his first dose in 2020, had side effects. Just standing up sent his heart racing, stinging pain in his eyes, mouth, groin. Those have gotten a little bit better, but he still
mouth, groin. He said, "Okay, mouth, groin. Go on. I'm listening. You got my attention."
Has what they call tinnitus. That's a ringing in the ears. Now, 270 million of us got vaccines for COVID. Nearly 677 million doses have been given out, okay? Tens of millions.
That doesn't sound right. It's been billions of doses have been given out. Maybe 617 million in America? That's possible, I suppose.
Of lives were arguably saved by them. Why do I say that? Because it's complicated.
No, it's not. It's not complicated. Lives were saved by vaccines. We can measure this stuff. This is disgusting, dude. I had no idea Chris Cuomo, went to the right like this.
But we know that vaccines can have unintended consequences.
Some vaccines can, absolutely. The COVID vaccine has been monitored like a hawk to see if there are any kinds of problems with it whatsoever. And the moment there's an issue, it's been public because they peer review this stuff and put it in medical journals. And there are people who watch these medical journals for information on it. I mean, you could just buy the medical journal and read it if you want. See what the papers say. We were working off of preprint papers in the early days of the vaccine and the early days of COVID. Preprint papers means we were looking at studies that seemed to show an effect, some kind of value, without having been peer-reviewed yet. We were not basing any policy off of it. We weren't giving out medicines or anything, but we were if there was some kind of an issue, if somebody was suffering from something or whatever, we were looking at preprints for this because we had no choice. We had to get information as quickly as we possibly could. And then when the peer review stuff went through and a lot of studies were found to be inaccurate or found to have bias or whatever, and that's fine. That's how the medical system or the scientific community works. It's not like religion where nobody can ever be wrong ever, no matter what. It's not like that. Being wrong is desirable in the medical community or in the scientific community. We want to know if we get something wrong. We want to fix it. And I'm saying not because I'm a medical professional, but because I approach problems from a scientific perspective at the very least. I want to be proven wrong if I am wrong. I don't want to believe something unless I'm correct about it. That's the perspective pretty much every scientist I've ever met in my entire life has, except for quacks, like my doctor when I was little. He's a homeopath. This is sad, dude. This is really sad.
AKA side effects. But nobody's really talking about it because they're too afraid of blame and they just want it to go away. But the problem...
Nobody's afraid of blame. Nobody wants anything to go away. Medical community will research things.
is people like Sean and me and millions of others who still have weird stuff with their blood work and their lives and their feelings, physically, are not going away.
Feelings? You have weird things with your feelings, huh? Ooh.
Sean Barkovich joins us now. Sean, how do I say your last name?
Correct, Barkovich.
Oh, good. At least I got one thing right. So
wait, so hang on a second. They showed a picture of some dude in a hospital bed and implied that Sean was incapable of moving under his own power. Who's this guy? Is this Sean? Yeah, lots of people went to the hospital during COVID. This is not news to anybody. This is not big medicine trying to get one over on the little guy or some other shit.
So, I'm sorry.
Anyway, it's just a joke, dude. This whole thing is a joke. It's disgusting. I had no idea that not Andrew Cuomo, Chris Cuomo, his brother. I had no idea Chris Cuomo was like this. This is really sad, honestly. Anyway, let's keep listening to Dr. Drew, or Drew Pinsky, as I should be calling him, and Dave Rubin.
That conversation with him, because I
step back.
And then we also played a clip where a compilation of him on CNN basically guilting people into getting the vax. And I would love to have that conversation with him, because I don't wish anyone ill, of course. I hope he's okay. He didn't really get into the details of what's going on with him. But you watch the minute-long compilation of him telling people that they should have passports and not go out and stay home and all of this stuff. And now he's
have passports. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a passport to move between countries. Is that what you're talking about?
He's one of the people that was affected by that. And you can only imagine how many people he might have as a primetime CNN guy influenced to get the vaccine.
This is so sad. Yeah. So how many people did Chris Cuomo kill with his requests that they get the vaccine? The answer, as of right now, is 0. We have no evidence that he got anybody hurt or injured or killed or whatever by encouraging anybody to get the vaccine. No evidence of that whatsoever. In fact, we have evidence contrary to that. How many people did he save by encouraging people to get vaccinated? There's an actual number that we can look at to tell us roughly how many people were saved by getting vaccinated. Lives saved by the COVID-19 vaccines. This is on nih.gov. It's a study. So it's not just them claiming it. We're looking at a study, an actual study here. National Institute of Health. So this is the projected increase, a projected jump, and this was the actual jump. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to read scientific studies, but they're very complicated, and they're hard to understand a lot of the time. Outside clinical trials, the first COVID-19 vaccine was administered on December 8th, 2020. Researchers aimed to quantify the global impact of the first year of COVID vaccination programs using mathematical modeling to fit COVID-19 transmission and vaccination to report COVID-19 mortality and all-cause excess mortality in 185 countries and territories. They determined the number of lives lost if there'd been no vaccines. Based on reported COVID-19 deaths, vaccinations prevented an estimated 14.4 million deaths, 95% credible interval from COVID-19 in 1 year. However, if excess deaths were used, this estimate rose to 19.8 million, 95% credibility interval, I think is what that says. Deaths prevented, equating to a global reduction of 63% in total deaths, 19.8 million of 31.4 million during the first year of COVID. Of COVID vaccination. Delivery of vaccines to low-income countries has been far lower than promised, so on and so forth. So anyway, the point is, how many people did how many people did Chris Cuomo, quote unquote, vaccine injure by encouraging them to get vaccinated? I have no idea. 0 probably, but who knows? Maybe it's not 0. Maybe it's 50. Maybe 100. Hell, maybe 1,000. Maybe 1,000,000. Who knows? It's not more than the people that were saved by vaccines. These people are forgetting about the valuable effects that vaccines have in the first place, conveniently. Just like they conveniently forget that COVID was not created in a lab with the explicit intent to hurt people, and they have no right to blame like science for COVID. There's no reason for that shit. Like they've been doing this entire time. I don't know if you guys watched like all the parts to this, but that's what they did.
I would let Dr. McCullough address all that stuff. And we in our promo said we talk about mRNA and cancers and whatnot as well, but we can get into that.
Oh, in their promo stuff? I didn't see that. Yeah, he was advertising for turbo cancer. He said turbo cancer is a real problem. It's not. It's a conspiracy theory, but okay.
But there's an important story to be told that Dr. McCullough then comes in this whole cancellation where the on the physician side and academic side, the people they chose to cancel, that Cuomo and his...
Who's they? Are they in the room with us right now? There is no they, okay? There's no, like, deep state plotters trying to get you to stop or get you to continue vaccinating people and stop talking negatively about it or whatever. You live in a fantasy land.
Thugs at the time, and the whole group.
Oh, they're thugs, whoever they is.
That would come after anybody, particularly in the FLCC, and we'll go. Were you in that group? No. Yeah, that was Jay Bhattacharya, who's the poster child for this. These are extraordinarily accomplished professionals, decorated teachers. Give them your base, your outline of your story.
I mean, what was going on in 2020 was amazing. Scott Atlas was at Stanford. I was at Baylor. We were both asked by invitation to write op-eds about what was going on the pandemic in the Hill, which is widely read by the
In the Hill, okay.
House, the Senate, White House.
The Hill is a left-leaning, small, like, news outlet. Could you call it a news outlet? I guess so. It's kind of more of an opinion outlet. Like the Daily Mail. You know, that newspaper that sided with Hitler in World War II, like before it was even necessary? At a certain point, siding with Hitler was required. Like, you couldn't get away with, not being a Nazi. You had to have some kind of Nazi affiliation in Germany in World War II. But there was a period of time where Hitler eventually took over, like, everything, and you had to be a Nazi. You had to have a Nazi representative or whatever. Yeah, the Daily Mail was Nazi before it was even required. Those are the types of, just a shot across the bow for the Daily Mail. Doesn't have anything to do with whatever. I'm just saying the Daily Mail is fucking garbage. Even though they wrote a positive article about me, I appreciate that, Daily Mail. But you're still fucking garbage. Anyway, the point is that The Hill is a biased news source, which is okay. It's okay. You can get some of your information from those on occasion. I'm a biased news source. Well, I shouldn't be a news source, really. I should be an opinion source. But you should absolutely get your news, like most of it, from print media like Reuters or AP News or BBC America or Independent. Independent is okay too, I suppose. Independent.co.uk.
Inside the Beltway. And so we were writing, Scott was writing about the public health masking and lockdowns. I was writing about how the virus is moving and about early treatment, that we're going to have to treat sick people. At some point in time, there's two bad outcomes.
No fucking shit. I'm sorry, guys. No fucking... Really? You trying to tell me that we have to treat COVID? This is news to me. Let's step back, listen to this again. They're hiding under your bed, says Nerical. Yeah, pretty much. In your bed and in your head.
About the public health masking and lockdowns. I was writing about how the virus is moving and about early treatment that we're going to...
Yeah, so no one listened to him about the fact that people need to be treated early. How messed up is that, huh? Wow.
Have to treat sick people. At some point in time, there's two bad outcomes, hospitalization and death. And if we don't do anything at home, there will be no way to stop this progression. And
if we don't do anything at home, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean don't do anything at home?
Things moved along. Scott ultimately went into the White House for a period of time. I became a frequent contributor on Fox. I went on well over 100 times.
Wow. So, knock me over the feather. He was a contributor on Fox, a big contributor. I'm going to need more than his word to convince me of that one. That's a tall claim. Fox News likes this guy? Jeez.
We felt, all of us, Scott went through censorship at Stanford. I went through a whole series of progressive things that happened to me professionally. It's in my book, Courage to Face COVID-19.
This you got to read
Show
it.
the book.
Can I give it to Dave? Because he needs to read this book.
This is so stupid, dude. Oh, my God. By the way, I love that this is modeled after New York City. New Donk City is what it's called. New York City is just the best. I live here. It's fantastic.
Historical
I
document.
would love to read it.
Dave, the title of your book is Don't Burn This Book.
Yeah.
This book, Courage to Face.
They say as conservatives, right-wing people are literally like burning and banning books en masse. Let me ask, who is banning books right now? Who's banning more books exactly? I wonder. Who would they say is banning more books? Are any books being banned on the left? Any. Literally a single book. To my knowledge, the answer is no. And conservatives aren't giving literally any examples of books on the left that are being burned. So I'm going to assume zero until given reason to think otherwise. You know who is banning books? Republicans, like mad. Greg Locke is just one example of a Republican political extremist preacher who holds regular book burnings. Book burnings. What is happening?
Face COVID-19 is a 5-star seller on Amazon. John Leake, who's the main author, is already a best-selling author. So he's already got it, right? This is on Amazon for 18 months. We get a notice. Amazon says we're taking it down. We said, what? Why?
This is burning books.
Yes, burning books.
Oh my God, dude. You have no right to their marketplace. And you can sell it on your own website. That's what I did. I sold mine on my own website. Like, seriously, what is wrong with you? It's not that difficult to sell on your own website. It's totally possible to do.
Right. Yeah. How you destroy the book doesn't matter. It doesn't have to use flame.
Right. So here's the point.
Look, I'm sorry, man. I have to show this. I have to. Yes, I have a whole Chrome thing full of Hitler stuff. Just don't pay any attention to that. Greg Locke held a book burning. He's a, far-right pastor, if you don't know. This was, he's held a lot of them. It isn't just like one example. He holds them pretty frequently. This is him announcing it.
But this Wednesday.
This one was from January 30th, 2022. But again, there are more recent examples. This is just the first one I found.
Everybody say this? Wednesday. We gonna have a burning service.
Do these people ever look back at the things that they say and do and ask themselves, are we the baddies? Are we the ones that are destroying society? They're literally complaining about things that they are doing, the far right. Greg Locke is complaining about things that, the far right is doing and doing it himself.
Oh, yes, you heard me well. We're going to send that mess back to hell where it belongs. We're going to have us a burning service. I mean a burning service. And we're going to burn some stuff up in this house. We're going to get rid of some unholy covenants and alliances and some word curses and some witchcraft that's been spoken over. We're going to get rid of, we're going to free some homes. We're going to free some marriages. We're going to burn some stuff.
Jesus Christ, dude. And he's taking pride in this. You know why book burnings are so frowned upon? Because Hitler famously burned books. Now, I don't like comparing everything to Hitler. I feel like that's not really valuable exactly. But what else do you expect me to do with this? This is literally Hitler's exact plan to eliminate books or eliminate whatever. This is Hitler's plan. This is how he started. Well, this is how the Nazi movement censored a lot of information that they didn't like, holding book burnings. Jesus Christ, dude. There's a guy named oh my God, Hirschfeld. What's his name? Magnus Hirschfeld? Yeah, Magnus Hirschfeld. Famously ran a sexology clinic or whatever, a place that had information on, just sexual information. He was openly gay, and there were trans people who attended, and just a lot of LGBT people who attended different lectures, classes. He had a gigantic library, and the Nazis came in, and day one, Nazis walked in and poured black ink all over his books. They just started pulling books off of shelves and pouring black ink all over them. The following day, they came and piled them all up and started burning them. And that was the lead up to a big famous burning event, a big book burning event where people went to their local libraries and pulled books off the shelves and threw them on a pile and started burning them en masse. That's what Nazis did. And yeah, book burning is bad. Very bad. Banning information is not good, in my opinion. You should not ban it. But that's not what they're doing. That's not what anyone has done on the left. Again, it's the right that's banning information like this, not the left. I mean, I just showed you one prime example. Greg Locke is not in politics right now, but he's very clearly defined on the right. He's a massive right-wing influencer on the Face Space or the My Book or whatever it is. He's got like 2 million subbies on there or something on Face Space. So he is an influential person in the right-wing sphere, and he holds book burnings regularly. Just one example. Which person on the left is holding book burnings? Which organization? Is there somebody on the left holding book burnings? Do you know what Greg Locke's response was when he held his book burning? Here is Locke's book burning. We're not going to play much of it, just a few seconds. He says, throw it in, don't breathe that mess back in.
All right, let that stuff burn, let it go. But we're going to start this up. We got all kind of Masonic stuff. We got devilish stuff. We got every bit of kind of witchcraft, spell books, everything you can imagine. And this thing is full. So we got clothes, a lot of things. So if you need to get rid of it, as much as you can get, just start.
And the really sad thing, I mean, this looks precisely like a Nazi book burning. I don't know why these pallets are so popular to use in book burnings. I guess because they allow oxygen to flow in through the cracks. But this is exactly what Nazis used to burn books too. So that's kind of weird. And the really sad part that just breaks my heart, it's right at the end. This woman has an old clock. I believe it's a Seth Thomas clock because my mom has the same one, and I have one that's very, very similar. It's a clock that you wind. You can tell like the door and the back. You open the back, and it's just so sad, dude. The key is probably in the little door in the back, and you open the face, and you take the key and you wind it 3 different spots. It's really, really old. It's probably worth hundreds, maybe, depending on how old. Thousands. Really, really sad. Anyway, yeah, that's Greg Locke and his book burnings and stuff. Point is, people on the right are doing book burnings. Oh, yeah, there's one other thing. Greg Locke defends himself from criticism. People on the left were criticizing him, or in the center. People who were not on the right, basically, were criticizing him for his decision to hold a book burning. And his response?
We're not going to give up, because you know what happens? We've got all kind of death threats. We got people angry. We got people threatening to do everything you can imagine.
Okay, I don't stand for that.
Homeland Security, people calling us American terrorists and
yeah, a little bit. American terrorists and Taliban.
People calling us American terrorists and Taliban, which, by the way, shall I say this about the Taliban? Did you know?
You know what I find fascinating? He used the Taliban as an example of people who burn books. And did he mention a single example of somebody to the left of center who is burning books? No, he didn't. He thinks that the left is the best example of book burning that he could come up with is the Taliban. Somebody that no one agrees with here and doesn't want burning books, none of it. No one is standing for book burnings by the Taliban.
That Islam, they burn stuff in their religion too that they deem occultic, and ain't nobody doing stories about them, are they?
Yeah, they are. People do stories about that all the time, but, that's in another country. not. So you're probably reading local news. That's the issue. You're reading local news rather than like international news. Aside from that, unfortunately, the Taliban controls an entire area, a region, and they control what information, flows from that area and through that area. So people aren't doing stories about the Taliban's book burning in, say, Afghanistan, for example, because it's illegal to do stories about that. So, because they don't want information spreading, because they like banning books.
Let that settle in. No, they've come against an
Like, you just got a W.
evangelical, Bible-preaching, Bible-believing church in Middle Tennessee that they deem as a, irresponsible threat to the American Republic.
Absolutely, 100%.
How crazy.
Anyway, that was Greg Locke's reaction to being called out. Do you hear any mention of people who are banning books on the left? Any mention at all? Anybody? Did he say, well, yeah, sure, I'm doing it, but these people are doing it too? What example did he give? The Taliban. This is I'm going to take the extra step. I'm going to go there. I'm going to say this is an exclusively right-wing problem that exists right now. And again, I don't like comparing everything to World War II Germany. It's not fair to compare everything, every problem that the U.S. faces or every situation that we find ourselves in. It's not fair to compare that stuff to Germany in World War II. It's just not. But a lot of things that happened in World War II Germany are happening in the United States now, including but not limited to book burnings and propagandizing and pretending like your enemy is really doing this stuff when it's actually you doing this stuff. Get help. Anyway, let's listen to these right-wingers talk about how they were censored, how they don't like censorship, and they don't believe in book burnings, and how he wrote a book called Don't Burn This Book.
Yeah. We said, what? Why?
This is burning books.
Yes, burning books.
Right. Yeah. How you destroy the book doesn't matter. It doesn't have to use flame.
Right. So here's.
No, it's not burning books. You're allowed to have these books. You're allowed to sell them on your own website. No one is stopping you from doing any of that shit. You stand on a street corner and read it out if you want. Nobody cares. This guy wants to use artificial marketplaces that are owned by other people to promote his book, basically. As Elon Musk himself said, you have freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. Remember him saying that? Right before he censored the word cisgender? You remember? Anybody remember that? Freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach?
Here's the point. They said, well, it has offensive content. We said, where is it? I don't even cuss. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing in there. There's no nudity, profanity, no hate speech. They said, well, we can't tell you where the offensive content is.
Yeah, well, I mean, social media companies do that, and it's really annoying. And there's probably a reason for it. I'm going to guess, I don't know this for sure, but I think if you give a reason why you're doing this thing or that thing or whatever, then it puts it in a regulatory category that's dangerous. Like, if you give somebody a reason why you're firing them, you're subject to regulations. I'm firing you because you're black. Well, that's illegal. But you can fire somebody for no reason at all, just because you don't want to hire them anymore. That is 100% perfectly legal. You don't have to say that it's because they're black, but it can be because they're black. It can be for any reason or no reason at all. I think it's called a right to work law or something. I don't remember. Point is, social media companies probably, I'm guessing, most likely don't say what you violated, where the violation was, or whatever, for that exact reason right there that I just listed. Also, the same reason why Jehovah's Witnesses don't say what people were disfellowshipped for.
So what happened was, perfect, right? I put this out on Twitter. I said, Amazon is pulling our book. People took pictures of the brown shirts in Nazi Germany burning books. Mm-hmm. They replaced the Nazi swastika with an Amazon logo. Yeah.
Why did they do that? Why did they have to go all the way back to Nazi Germany to find an example of a book burning? There are right-wingers that do this all the time. But why didn't they place the picture of the Amazon logo on left-wingers burning books, I wonder? Any ideas? Anybody got anything at all?
Yeah, this was all over. Yeah, it was all over social media. A lot of people got involved. Now, fortunately, the publisher Skyhorse, Tony Lyons, got involved. And after 12 days, Amazon said, we made a mistake. We're putting it back up.
Oh, look at that. So they didn't burn the book after all, huh? Jesus Christ, dude.
But what influenced Amazon to do this?
Well, is it the
to
blob?
essentially burn the book?
Yes.
And so Mike Vance has been on this show
it's
many
the board,
times.
whatever you want to call it. It's that. It's that, unfortunately, you guys may remember the story of when Jordan Peterson, when 12 Rules for Life came out, they had a complete upheaval at not Simon & Schuster.
No, I don't remember that. And dude, I have never in my life ever heard somebody snap like this. This is an incredible snap. This guy's got the snapping game on lock. That's like impressive. I want to step back. Just listen to this dude snap. I want to learn to snap like that. I can't. My snap is so lackluster.
Who's the other big publisher?
Harper Collins.
Was it Harper Collins? I'm blanking on who it was.
Right.
It was Penguin. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the executives that were not happy. The executives were thrilled. I mean, the book was selling millions and millions of copies. I think it was the #1 book of 2018.
Because as he's kind of pointing out here, implicitly, without coming out and saying it, executives care about money. They don't care about anything else. It's all money. How is this going to benefit us financially? Okay, go on.
I was on tour with him. I mean, I saw the fruits of that. The guy was selling out, 7,000-8,000 seat theaters all across the world as a clinical psychologist. I mean, you would have ever thought that could happen, right? But it wasn't the executives that were upset. It's
just for the record, it wasn't Jordan Peterson's accurate clinical psychological assessments that people were going to see. His clinical psychological assessments, by and large, when he was at like his peak, were pretty on point. He was correct about a lot of that stuff, but he would take it to absurd conclusions, or even crazier than that, he would just insert a whole bunch of like Jesus shit in where it didn't belong. So, claim that, God, I don't remember. I think this is Jordan Peterson who claimed that our DNA has a cross in it and that proves God or something. I don't know. He said all kinds of crazy stuff.
It's the underlings. It's the sort of managerial class. It's the kids who just got out of college and then they start complaining to the higher ups. So my guess is it was probably not a very high up Amazon executive that top down took you out. They get some complaints and then it starts percolating throughout the system. And unfortunately,
no, I think it was probably just like normal Amazon policy that came across this thing. That's probably what happened. They found that normal Amazon policy would be to remove this book from their storefront. I don't want to fall into their ridiculous persecution complex framing. By the way, I don't know if you guys knew this, just a little thing here. Did you know that in New York City, back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, manhole covers like this had a habit of just shooting off, just exploding up in the air? They're pretty heavy, too. They're really heavy. Big, gigantic metal manhole covers. It just blow off. And one of them, I believe, shot into space. Fastest moving object humans have ever created. It was moving at 5 times escape velocity of the planet when it left. They put a manhole cover above a nuke underground, and the explosion shot the iron cap into space. The fastest human-made object as part of the U.S. government's nuclear testing in the 50s. Okay, maybe it wasn't New York City's manhole cover blowing off. It was a nuclear test. But anyway, manhole covers did used to do that back in the day in New York City. I don't think they do that anymore.
Fortunately, we don't have a lot of bravery in the world right now, or certainly in our institutions, and then they get corrupted. And that's what we're seeing on college.
By the way,
right
the Freedom of Information Act that came out on the Twitter files, when the Twitter files were released,
FOIA.
It was exactly that.
Okay, no to all of that. Everything that he just said is wrong in every single way. The Freedom of Information Act is an act, a government act, that gives people the ability to search government information or to receive information from government programs or employees or whatever. Somebody actually, the FBI did an investigation on Heaven's Gate, the Heaven's Gate cult, back in the 90s when this happened. one of my fans did a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. They did a request to get that, the FBI's files, basically, on Heaven's Gate. And it wasn't classified, so the FBI turned it over. They gave it to my fan, who then subsequently sent it to me. It had their social security numbers in it and everything. Everything was completely 100% uncensored from the FOIA request, fascinatingly. And I covered on stream at the time. I don't even know where that document is now, sadly. It's probably somewhere in my emails. But anyway, yeah, the FOIA request. That's what the FOIA request is for, receiving government documents which are not classified and which the public has a right to access, basically. So I don't know what he's talking about here. Like, this doesn't even apply to what he's saying.
Certainly in our institutions, and then they get corrupted. And that's what we're seeing on college.
By the way,
right
the Freedom of Information Act that came out on the Twitter files,
Okay, there was no Freedom of Information Act that came out on the Twitter files. What are you talking about? The Twitter files is just Elon Musk's attempt to demonize the old administration at Twitter. I have no idea what he's saying right now. The Twitter files did not have a FOIA request. But okay, I guess, gonna propagandize. That's just what it is, I suppose.
Twitter files were released. It was exactly that. It was kind of these underlings, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So
no, just complete nonsense. The Twitter files were manufactured outrage, manufactured garbage. It was not some big problem or conspiracy or whatever. It was Elon Musk trying to turn the old system of governance, the old board members and the old people, trying to turn them into monsters and turn himself into a hero and get a whole bunch of attention in the process.
What's to be done? That begs the issue. Are we seeing some sort of, I don't want to say a sea change because it's clearly not that, but did the
sea change? Is that what he said? Sea change?
What's going on college campuses put people on notice that it's going too far? Or
well, I think we're seeing a...
Are you kidding me? Did you guys hear what he just said? Dude is complaining about college campuses protests. He literally just complained about book burning, and within a few sentences complained about people's freedom of speech at college campuses and said that it's going too far. People have too much freedom of speech. This is such an outrageous joke. These people are jokes of human beings. How did this guy get a medical license? Does he have one now?
The sorting. I think we're seeing a sorting the way that you and I have discussed many times, the great sorting of America in terms of where people live. I lived in California, in Los Angeles, until December 17th, 2021, when I got to Florida, and I'm never leaving here. I think we're going to see that.
Oh, you're leaving there. You will. Give it some time for climate change to get worse. And before you know it, Florida's going to be underwater. Seriously, we're going to lose the lower third of Florida in the next 75 years or so. 50 to 75 years. We might be alive to witness Florida disappearing, or parts of it at least. We might be alive to witness Tampa and Miami going completely underwater because of climate change. I don't want people to be too freaked out about this, though. Let me just say, in 250 million years, there's going to be a big, like a joining of the continents. Like 200 million years ago or so, somewhere in there, we had one supercontinent called Pangaea. And in about 250 million years or so, we're going to have another supercontinent called Pangaea Ultima. When that happens, roughly 80% of the world is not going to be habitable because it's going to be like desert, basically. Like right now, the Sahara Desert is not habitable to us. That's an area of the world that's kind of locked out for people to live in. Bunch of sand and heat and everything. It's just not... I mean, you could live there, I suppose. It's just like not hospitable to life, really. And Greenland is not really hospitable to life. You can live there if you have a good heater, but it's not a good place. It's not the best place for people to live. So we're locked out of living there is the point. And that's going to be the case for about 80% of Pangaea Ultima in a few hundred million years. Right now, we're locked out of... we're not even talking about oceans. Oceans make up a lot of that problem. approximately 70% of the Earth is covered by water. Yeah, I can't find the answer to this, but I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of 47% of land is habitable to us right now. And it's only going to be 20% in 250 million years because there's going to be a massive shift in climate change. Pangea Ultima is going to form on the equator and create more deserts, basically. So climate change is going to happen. This isn't the first time that climate change has happened either. Not even this bad. Like, we've had climate change this bad before too, even in the world. It's, it took way longer to get to this point before, but we've had it. It's happened. We've had this level of warming before. The planet as an ecosystem will shift. It'll change. It'll get warmer. It'll get colder. These things happen. We need to do something about it right now, like immediately. Because if we don't, we're going to lose the lower third of Florida. But we're not going to, all die. It's not like an apocalyptic societal collapse type of event. It's a gradual event that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people, and we're going to have refugees and stuff. Where are people going to go after Miami goes under? We're going to have, millions of refugees from climate change, climate refugees. So anyway, the point is that climate change is concerning, and we should be taking it very seriously. But this is part of living on planet Earth, and we have to find solutions to it now. So I don't want people to freak out or feel like this is a doomsday type of deal. It's not a doomsday type of deal, but we should be taking it seriously. Sorry, I just wanted to every time I talk about climate change, I feel like I get people down, and I don't want people to feel down about it. It's not an insurmountable problem. Tell me what you think in the comments. Stick around for the next part and where we're going to talk about this at more length.